going to show how to edit one baby on a digital background. So I'm going to edit this little fellow. So first we need to start to matching the colors. So this looks a little bit too cold, so I'll warm him up slightly. I think something like that. So I'm checking. We have the lens correction on. I like to put my noise reduction to 35 here. Luminance 50, 25, 50, 50. Then you just have to eke and tweak where you kind of find where it's looking good. So the highlights, we don't want to have too much highlights. And maybe lift the blacks a little bit. Something like that. Leave that as it was. I think that's pretty good. Anything slightly bright. Something like that. Now I'm gonna take these, turn these off. So this baby doesn't have too bad skin, but we choose this, and it's called spot healing. Let me see, get it up. It doesn't show. Let me see. Spot healing brush, yeah, and the short command is yay. I'm gonna turn on my short commands. Just see. Applications. Now you can see my short commands. So J was choosing, making it a little bit smaller. These little milk spots I tend to leave. I take away if there's big ones, but milk spots is very like it's showing that it's a newborn baby. It's very typical for young babies. So only take them out if they're bugging you. I tend to leave quite a few. I think they're cute. So remove flakes. These here, fluff. So you just go over whatever you see. So for the bigger one, I'll move it and then I'll keep the texture, and that's called patch tool. So I'll use the patch tool to remove if there's any. Because we don't want babies to look plastic, but we don't want to clean them up a bit. So take something like that. I like to paint on some sharpness. I create a new layer and then I brush the sharpness in. And that's actually the sharpness. So, do the lashes, a little bit on the nose and on the lips. And I like to have it on a different layer because you can turn it on and off. So if you need to add more or reduce some, you can do it. I also like to add a curves layer. I go into the red channel, bump up the reds a little bit, invert the layer, Command I, and then brush on, just a little bit on the cheeks. I use the opacity. You have the opacity here, 50, and the flow around 20. That's my standard. You can always change the flow and the opacity by using the numbers like 1 to 0 and shift 1 to 0 for the flow. So I'll turn that on and off. See how it looks. A little bit on the lips. So now I do think the baby has a little bit much too red overall in his face. I'll add a new curves layer. I go into the red channel and I'm gonna do like the opposite. So I'm gonna cool it down slightly. So if you go all the way down, it's green, because green is the opposite of red. So if we add a little bit of green, Command I, and we paint that layer in softly, that's gonna take some of this redness out. So just go over a little bit on the red. So I think that's a little bit strong, so somewhere I'll brighten his face up slightly, curves layer, use bump up the exposure, like the curve layer there, the midtones. Just add some. It's quite common that their eye sockets, the corners of their eyes get a little bit grayish. So just brush that in, a little bit of light. So, something. Take that off. So, and otherwise he looks pretty good. Take away some of the flakes on his hand. I find that the composites on like bright composites are harder than the darker ones. It's easier to hide the edges on Command C, Command V. So now I pasted that baby layer. I merged it together. It's one layer. I just made a copy, merged it together. Command C to copy it, and then I pasted it on my digital background, Command V. I take the opacity down so I can see how big the baby is. Command T, take the baby down. How big? I like the babies to be quite big in the balls. I don't want them to be too tiny. So something like that. We'll see how that looks. Take the opacity up again. So to mask the baby out, you can either use the masking tool, just mask him. So that's how I usually do it if I have a dark composite, because then you maybe don't want that much of the background with. On the white ones, you tend to want more of the background so you can blend it in. So you can mask it out like this, and then you press this masking layer. That cuts it out. You can go in and refine the edges in here, select the mask, which I usually do for here. Use this hair tool and I paint it in here. That will cut out the hair nicely, like leave it nice and fluffy. So something. I'm actually going to use a bit more of the fluff around the baby, so we don't have to go around, because I'm just going to paint that in a big brush. But just to show you, I'm going to get that here in the picture as well. That's the tool to use. Okay. Now, because I have this on a layer, I can brush in or out, like mask in or out. So white shows. So I want to show the ear. Go down to 50, 20. And then I'm just gonna start brushing the edges in. You see how well it cut out the hair around the bowl edge. So I'm just gonna paint in. And because the textures are similar, it's easy to blend them. Similar textures around the baby is so essential to make it look real and have an easier job in Photoshop. It's not too bad that the colors are not matching, because we can fix the colors way easier than the textures. So as we can see, this fur that he's laying on is more yellow than the fur in the bowl. So there's two options. Either we correct the fur that he's laying on, or we correct the fur in the bowl. So here in this one, I'm gonna correct the fur he is laying on. So I'm gonna create a new hue and saturation layer. I'm gonna choose the yellow, yes, the yellows, and I'm gonna turn down the saturation. And I only want this to affect the layer, the baby layer. So I'm gonna go in and create a clipper mask. This little arrow here indicates that this is just affecting the layer underneath it. So, but I don't want it to affect the actual baby. Let's see how much is it affecting. It's actually not too bad. So we're gonna brush out with the black where we don't want it to affect. So we don't want it to affect on the actual baby, because we want him to have a natural skin tone. So let's brush it in. Actually, I'm gonna change the flow to 100, something like that. Then you can press backslash, and you will see a mask, a red mask, top of the baby that shows you where you have painted on, revealing or hiding the layers. So you can also do this with the selection tool, the selection wand, and just fill it in. There are several different ways how to select a mask. You have to just find a way that works best for you. You can just Google it, check on YouTube. There are millions of tutorials in different ways. This is just one that I find that it works. You see how well the colors blended in now? So I'm gonna go down and see. So that's pretty much it for this baby. I maybe want to warm him up a little bit. He looks a little bit too gray here. So I can go in and put in a different hue and saturation layer. Working with layers in Photoshop are essential. Without them, I couldn't get these ones to look good at all. So here I'm looking at the gray areas. I want the gray areas to get some color in them, so maybe that's a little bit too much, but something like that. I do Command I to invert the layer, and then I'm gonna paint it in. So I'm gonna just fill in. So X change the brush from black and white. So I'm gonna do white and just gonna paint back in some color here. Get some on that gray areas. So maybe that's a bit too. Also, what the baby is wearing will create color casts on his skin tone, and so then you can go down and change the opacity in the layer if you find it. So maybe something like this. That would be pretty much it. That would be finished. Easy peasy. Saving. I'm gonna save it in the same. So I have there. Oh, I wanna make a new one because I made one for the other baby. So I'm gonna name. I'm gonna make baby newborn eye drop. See, and that's it.